One, two.
Those mics work, it's just one's not, still not. It's disconnected, it's reloading, so. But it's showing her she's disconnected, trying to reconnect. Maybe I should turn it off and turn it back on?
Okay. Huh? Where is everybody?
It's loading over here, so.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, you plugged this thing.
It wasn't even letting me control the camera.
Here.
Really? Wow, that's good for you. Wow, I'm still such a... Hi, how are you?
The mayor's got one that.
Is the podium still not working?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait for it.
I'm just going to reach over here for a second.
Sure. For those of you that are in the chambers, we have some technical problems, and we'll be starting the meeting very shortly. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just not letting me.
Computers have the same input.
It won't work either. All of those audios are down. Wireless, all the wireless mics are all down. See, they're blinking red. Okay, Mayor, we're gonna have to do that. Their speakers are gonna have to work from my station because that mic isn't working.
Good evening and welcome to the Leon Valley City Council regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, April 16th, 2019. It's approximately 6:05 in the evening, and I will call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Dr. David Edwards, our counselor in place one, is unable to be here. He has a family emergency and is excused. So if you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin our meeting this evening. If you'll please silence all cell phones or put them on, vibrate. And also, if you need to talk to your neighbor, if you could please step outside the chambers and talk outside, we would greatly appreciate it, because we are trying to get a good recording, and sometimes that's distracting. So thank you so much for that consideration. Also, our local rules do allow citizen involvement to speak at any of our agenda items this evening. You are limited to 3 minutes, with the exception of citizens to be heard, which is 5 minutes. So with that said, we will move then to presentations. 2.1, our home, our decisions presentation. We have Melinda Moritz, our Public Works Director. Good evening and welcome. And then also, yes, that's a good thing. I forgot to say, the podium microphone is not working. So if you would like to say something this evening on one of the agenda items, you would need to, as Melinda's doing, just sit at Crystal Caldera's desk, and then that microphone will pick up all of the recordings for our city secretary. Okay, thank you. And Ms. Moritz, I know we're so used to seeing you in front of the podium, it's kind of hard to see you way down there, but hi, how are you? And good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
You
So
bet.
this is the presentation that we would like to put on the website for everybody to see. We had this at the council meeting a couple meetings ago, and I was asked to bring it back so that y'all could see the presentation first. We'll also be doing a little flyer up, but it wasn't ready for this meeting. And then in your packet, we put the generic flyer that was put out by the Texas Municipal League, and that would also go on the website. And so the presentation, it goes like this, and what I did was I took out all of their proposed pictures and put in pictures that were of our town specifically and our events. And so see, there's a good ribbon cutting. And then it goes on to tell, year after year, Texas cities rank among the top cities in the nation for population growth and job creation, and it gives the statistics. It says we lead the nation because those cities can provide the services and infrastructure the businesses need and the quality of life. And so we've got a picture of the construction of Evers Road Bridge when we were demolishing the old one, and then a picture of the fire station and of the city water tower. And then I talked about our quality of life here in Leon Valley, which we have an excellent police, fire, EMS, and I forgot to add public works to that. I'll fix that. A superior rated water system, achievement of excellence, public library, the parks, the pools, community garden, our street maintenance program, the school district, and then all of the personalized attention that our citizens get from the city leaders. And those are pictures of the park, the community garden, the swimming pool, and the construction of the fire station. And then this talks about some of the newspaper articles and opinion pieces that were talked about our officials. And then the ability of Texans to create vibrant, livable cities is under assault, who want to dictate what they think our community should do. And the greatest threat now is that they want to put one-size-fits-all restrictions on the annual budgets of all the cities and counties. And I don't know if you saw the last move they made was a 2.5% revenue cap. So we're fighting against that. If they did that, we could lose services. Fewer police officers on the street, reduction in the number of emergency service responders and fire safety, reduced recreational activities due to decreases in public works, fewer maintained parks, possible elimination of a pool, less maintenance of infrastructure, possible reduction in days of library usage. And as you know, we just added days to the library, so that would be very detrimental. People love having that library open. And so for this one, I just put pictures of the park, a construction project, and then our construction crew. So this gives you a little graph of how actually property taxes are distributed. And as you can see, Leon Valley takes 22% of the overall, with Northside taking the lead on that. And so it just tells them, look at your tax bill. And then here is an actual tax bill. I borrowed my friend Sherry's house. I always do. She lives on Canterfield. And so this just tells you about your Texas education funding, where our property taxes are going up and the state share is going down. And so this one gives them a little copy of what the Senate bill actually says. And as you can see by that, they're increasing the property local tax collections by 7.4% for the tax year 2017 and by 6.77% for the tax year 2018. And then these slides talk about recapture of school funding, and it's also known as Robin Hood, Chapter 41 school districts. They're considered to have high property values according to a method that was set up by the state. These districts are required to send more of their own local tax revenue to the state for recapture. So 33 school districts were subject to this recapture for a total amount of $130 million. And this just talks about how Northside has paid more than $280 million to the state in the past 20 years, but those funds are not available for Northside to use to meet student or any other needs. So Northside stands to lose approximately $4 to $5 million to the state this year in the recaptured funds, and that amount is projected to increase in the future. The state could use the captured funds collected for the other school districts, but they're not required to. They can use that money to support other parts of the state government that don't have anything to do with the education of our kids. Northside thinks the dollars intended for those schools should stay there, and Northside has got an entire information page about this law and about the effects of that on the school district on their website. And I think it's www.nisd.net, or this site right down here. And so instead of blaming cities, the state can provide some meaningful property tax relief by fixing the school finance system. And there's a lot of articles in the newspaper about that. And so the Our Home, Our Decisions program tells the real story. Lets Texans decide at the local level what's best for their community. And then here's a great picture of the city council. I like this one, giving out an award to Robert. And then again, just more pictures of our city and our services. And it states, giving us a voice. We should have the voice to say how much we want to invest in our infrastructure improvements, like our roads, water and sewage treatment, and our recreational facilities. Some of the potential Leon Valley projects that we've talked about are the erosion control and flooding control of Hebner Creek, and then flood controls in other areas of the city, a new public works facility, reaffirm our street maintenance tax collection, water system elevated tank repair and replacement, water and sewer system main replacement program, very important, very needed, and then an ADA sidewalk program. So if we keep our decision making here, it gives our citizens a voice in the rules and regulations that protect their home, the character of their neighborhoods, and also how they want to spend their money, on which projects are their priority. So here's just some of the regulations that we've decided are a good fit for our community. The graffiti, impound lot, fortune tellers, massage businesses, we defined and abated nuisances, the red light camera program. The ones that are coming up are a sex offender residency restriction program, payday and auto title lending restrictions, cell phone usage while driving ban, and eminent domain for our streets. And that's just some of them. And so this tells Leon Valley residents, if you want to make the decisions affecting your home and neighborhoods, they should, reflect our local priorities and not let the state tell us what we need to be doing. And then it finishes up with, it's your home, it's your neighborhood, your community. You should be able to decide, and then a great picture of Raymond Rimkus Park. And so that's what we're proposing to put on the website, if that's the council's pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Can we have maybe another slide?
Sure.
To say what the citizens can do? An action slide? Call
Sure.
your state rep, call your state senator. I mean, that's the only way it's going to change. Because right now, I believe it was the Senate that just passed the $2.5 cap, correct?
Mayor, Council, Melinda, actually, that one slide is wrong.
Okay. I
You,
wasn't-
you're calling it Senate Bill 1.
Mhm.
The budget bill that's active right now that actually has those revenue caps in it is House Bill 2. So that actually needs to be changed. And that's because I tasked Melinda with doing this before, that's changing weekly or daily up there. And so that one slide needs to be changed, and I can help you change that. But just to make sure the council is informed and the citizens as to why we're doing this is the Texas Municipal League voted for this to be their motto, for lack of a better word, our home, our decisions, as their overall attempt to keep decisions at the local level and let this council, local councils, make the decisions in conjunction with the people rather than the legislation being made in Austin. And so they've asked people to do, slideshows, the thing that Mary Bell did with the red light cameras that says our home, our decisions. Leon Valley community overwhelmingly 3 years in a row wanted the red light cameras and favored the red light cameras, but there might be another community that does not do that. And so that's why TML wanted us to do things that were individual to our community. And so I think she did an excellent job putting this together. The only issue that I have is I think that slide, you're right, Melinda, that you're pointing to right there is outdated, and I can help you update that.
I'll just take that number right out.
And then the mayor's addition at the end is really important. But I don't know how you all feel, but because we can't get all this on e-news, but we could consolidate something on e-news and then put numbers that people could call this week if you want on e-news.
Well, what do my colleagues think? I think that's the whole purpose is when they hear from you, when they hear from the elected officials, that makes a difference. If we
And they
don't
like
have
to hear
anything
from
on here, then they don't
citizens.
know. They're just reading it and they're going, "Oh, okay."
Right.
So that's why I think an action slide would be. But I'd like to hear from my colleagues. If y'all think that's a good idea, yes, Councilor Alcacer.
I think it's a good idea. I would like to have an updated picture of the council. That one's at least 5 years old, and those people aren't around. Some don't even live in Leon Valley. And I think the slide on the upcoming ordinances, I think
some of
one or
that's
two
wrong.
of those has already been accomplished. So I want to make sure that we have things that are not.
The cell phone one, I believe we've already done, and the
The sex offender.
and the sex offender, and then
the
the
payday.
payday lenders. We've done those. Yeah.
Okay, I'll update those to what we're working on next.
Thank you for pointing that out. Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Martinez.
Just a comment in regard to recapture or the Robin Hood. That scares me. Why did Texas get the lottery? And what was the whole reason for talking people into agreeing to the lottery? Is to pay for school
That's right.
taxes. And once it was passed, what did they do with the money? Put it right in the general fund.
That's correct, I believe, Mr. Martinez. That's right. Anyone else?
Last statistics I read, it was about 55-45, so you're exactly right. They just continue to take from that and put it in the general fund.
Well, the fact that they can do that with the Robin Hood funds also, it looks like they can, I don't know how much they do, and I didn't know so much in Northside, just because we're a large district, we lose a lot of money that could be used. They have problems just getting buses around.
Okay. So, do we need a motion to approve this presentation with the corrections, or how would y'all like to handle it?
No, Mayor, I think because it's under presentations, I think just a consensus that you all are okay with this, because this is not something that you have pre-approved, and so we didn't want to just go put it on the website, because it involves a lot of issues. And although I know we always take the TML stance, we just thought this was something that needed to come up here.
We'll make those
All
changes.
right. Thank you, Melinda, for your efforts. Do appreciate it. All right, great. Thank you. Next is presentation and City Council guidance to appoint a charter review committee. We have our city attorney Denise Frederick here this evening to present. Good evening and welcome.
You don't have the PowerPoint?
Oh, that's right. She needs to sit down there too.
You could have stayed at your seat. Oh, okay, that's true. Sorry. I could just stay at your seat. I thought she had a PowerPoint. She had.
Oh, she doesn't have a PowerPoint. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just trying to get a census from council on how you want to select your charter review committee to amend the charter. In order to make the ballot in November, we have to have something from the charter review committee by August to get it on the ballot. And so we need to get a charter review committee selected at least by the end of May so that they can get together and start their committee meetings. So I just needed a consensus from you on how you wanted to select your committee members. I had discussed it with the city secretary, and you can either do it by application or you can just select from the dais. The city council shall appoint a charter review committee in the second year after the charter is adopted, which is this year, and every fourth year thereafter. The charter review committee shall consist of 13 citizens of the city, and the citizens appointed shall consist of 2 appointments by each council member and 3 appointments by the mayor. So is there anything else,
No,
city manager, if you come
Not
up
that
with
I'm aware
anything?
of. I think we just wanted a consensus
have
that you
some-
want to do it the
Yeah,
same way.
I have some comment. It's silent as to when we have the election. Doesn't say November, so it just says 9 months. They cannot meet for more than 9 months. So we could conceivably meet in May. We conceivably put the election on May.
I
we
think
not?
there's something.
According
we
to
were
the
trying
charter.
Right.
According to the charter. Doesn't say anything about the when.
Well, the term of office for the charter members shall be not more than 9 months.
Right.
But there was something else that the
Don't
city
you have it in front of you?
secretary and I discussed. It's in that other book with regard to
Well,
when we're supposed to have it. I mean, because it should be on the November election if it's going to be every second year. It should be this year that the charter is amended. And so we have an election coming up in November. If the committee chooses to amend it, it should be this year because it has to be, it should be the second year after it was adopted and then every fourth year thereafter. So it needs to be this year and be put on the November election.
okay, subsection F says, nothing in this section prohibits the city council from forming a charter review committee at any time or from submitting any amendments to the charter to election on its own initiative at any time in compliance with state law. So there's a lot of freedom here. So, I mean, I think we could form the committee and then let them, kind of, I guess we don't know what the consensus is going to be as far as how to amend it or leave it is or whatever, but I just hate for them to be under that time constraint. You had that time constraint the last
did.
time.
We
And so
did.
that's what to be under pressure to get something done, just to put it on the ballot. And again, when I read this and I said, well, the charter's silent on it. It just says 9 months. So
I
we
think
could
the
conceivably do that, so.
The 9 months, Mayor,
The term of the
is
office of
for
the charter
term-
review committee shall be for not more than 9 months.
Right.
So,
So that's just their term of office. It's not talking about when the amendment shall be done. It tells you in 7.05 that the city council shall appoint a charter review committee in the second year after this charter is adopted.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make amendments, it should be in the second year. I mean, and that year is this year. And I don't understand what would be the point of selecting it in the second year and you don't give an opportunity for them to get it on the ballot in the second year, because then you would have to, I don't know. There's nothing else that speaks to it.
Yeah, if there's something that says it has to be in November, could you find that, please? Because I'd like to see it, because doesn't say it to me. I
mean, I'm not
just thought
saying that it has
last time
to-
we were really, really rushed, that's all.
I'm not
Just trying
saying
to
that it
get-
has to be in November. I'm just saying that if you're going to make amendments to the charter, you have to select a charter review committee at least this year. But after this year, you have to wait 4 years.
I understood that, but, okay. Anyone else have anything to add to this? Y'all want to?
Unless you want to appoint a charter review committee this year and then have them work on a charter for another election in the upcoming years, between now and the 4th year. I think that's possible. But they can't serve for more than 9 months, so.
I guess the way I was looking at it was May, and if you backed up May, then it would be September, and that's the 9 months. So we could still appoint them in this year,
Right.
but the election would be in May of 2020. That's the way I was looking at it, but anyway.
Is there, I don't know when the elections are. Is there an election in May?
It's just November and May, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But again, by the time we get the committee, it'd be, you really only have 2 months, because like you say, you have to call it. And again,
Well, the difference is, though, Mayor, that we were starting from scratch with the last one, and we just need to fill in the missing pieces. So I don't think it will be as work-intensive as it was the last time, but we do need to fill in some pieces, and whether it's November or May, I don't think makes a lot of difference, but we can, San Antonio had theirs in November, but it's not that it can't be in May.
I was going to say, we didn't start from scratch. Is my understanding that we did use the defeated charter as a blueprint, is that right? And we went through it each line by line?
We used the defeated charter, but then the committee had us looking at, I don't know, Crystal probably knows better than I do, 10 to 13 cities every time. You were continuously looking up every city to see what they said. And so.
But you still had a blueprint, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It
you had a
wasn't like-
blueprint,
yeah,
but you were
exactly.
working off of a whole bunch of blueprints. And so I think really all staff is looking for right now is just some direction. Do you want us to come to you with May to attempt to appoint a charter committee? Would you like us to wait? I mean, what would you like so that we can do it for you?
Well, I think we need a charter review committee. I was just, my issue was just the election and not being rushed and being able to, go through it, because again, it's going to be another 4 years before you can look at it again, so.
Okay.
But no, I mean, I'm in favor of it. I don't want to delay it, but I just want that flexibility of the election. If the committee feels like, you know what, we need some more time, let's postpone it until May. I mean, can they do that? I mean, what kind of again, it doesn't really say in the charter.
Right.
So, but that's what I'd like to see, is that flexibility. So, okay.
That may be something that you can amend the charter to include, so.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Okay, so do I hear that we want a presentation by our city attorney on the Home Rule Charter Selection Committee next time?
I think that's a good idea.
We can begin it again.
Or maybe the second meeting in May.
Yeah,
Second meeting in May?
meeting in May.
Okay.
That would be good.
Okay, so if you have it in the second meeting in May, is that the time you want to select, or do you want us to put out for application?
Well, if they did it the same way they did it last time, you just said everybody just appointed 2 people and the mayor appointed 3 and just got them done.
I mean, I was just,
Did they apply, Ms. Hensley?
The charter actually has specifics on how that charter review committee is appointed.
Well, it
You
just
have to
says
look at
who
that.
is going to,
It's
who's
2
going to appoint.
appointments.
Yeah, 2
Yeah,
per
2
counselors
and
and
3.
3 for the mayor. That was it. So it doesn't say it's an application process or anything like that.
Okay, so that's exactly how we
open.
did it last
Okay.
time, and that's what I
Alright.
said. So I
Okay.
assume that since it's in our charter, that's what we have to do this time, right?
I just needed some guidance on,
Okay.
on whether or
When you
not
want it.
what
Yeah.
you wanted. I didn't know. That's their option to either appoint from the dais or do an application process.
Yes, Counselor Jordan.
I would actually like to see an application process, give people the opportunity who are interested to apply, and then we could review those applicants and appoint from there, instead of just appointing from the dais. Seemed like it'd be a more open, fair process for all the citizens to be involved in the process.
Okay, I have no objection to that. Yes, Mr. Martinez.
I'd prefer to do it like it mentions in the charter. Each council member can appoint 2 members and the mayor appoints 3. That puts the work on us to do the vetting of whoever you want to have on the committee.
Right, and even though you would have an application process, you would still appoint the same
exactly.
way.
Who you
It would
want.
still be the same thing.
Yes, it would, but however, if we have an application process, then people that we may not be aware of that are interested in being on the committee will come forward and let us know, potentially not doing that the other way. So if there's an application process, a certain period of time to allow everybody to apply, then we can review the applicants from there.
Okay. Anyone support Mr. Jordan's idea for application?
I like the application idea, but if we don't get enough, I mean, we have all those things that we have to make a decision on. And if the same people are always applying for every committee, that's another issue. So,
Okay. So, Ms. Rodriguez, what do you think?
Actually, I think I do agree with Mr. Jordan about the fact that if we do an application process, maybe there is somebody out there who is not on a committee, that this might be a perfect fit for them.
Okay. So am I hearing that application should, the bottom line is it's still a council's decision, but they're able to see who's out there in the community that may be interested. And I have no objection to the application process because, again, it's left up to the councilors to actually appoint, but at least you'll get to see maybe a broader interest in the community. So, Sandra, I hate to ask you to amend your volunteer application again, but
I've already done it.
you've already, you're one step ahead. Okay. All right, that sounds good. And maybe I'll put a little something in the Lion's Roar as well on my article so that we could tell people about
Great.
that. Okay. Very
So we're
good.
going with the application?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there
thank you.
anything else that you wanted me to address?
maybe more specifically as to the mayor's request, because if the committee could be appointed, I mean, say in August if you wanted May, or immediately if you wanted sooner than November, but August would take it through April, and that would be just before the election. So more information on that to help us make a decision.
Thank you, Ms. Frederick. All right. Any other comments on this? And if not, then we'll move then to presentation number 2.3. We have our monthly financial report, March of 2019. And, oh, Vicki, you're down. See, I don't see you
I know,
all.
it's so strange to be down
I know it
here.
is. Hello, hello. Oh, so you're not Ashley this evening?
No.
No. Okay. Well, very good. Well, welcome back. We're glad that you're here. And you're going to tell us this financial state of our city. So thank you. If you'll begin, please.
I am.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the financial report for March. And as you can see that our ad valorem is trending really where it should be because we had more in property values. The big thing also that I want to point out, if you look at the license permits, fines, and fees, that's up substantially from what it was last year, but that is because at the same time last year, we only had $14,850 for red light camera fines. At this same, right now, for March, we have $1,334,000. So that's why that's so skewed. Sales tax is up 3.62%. If you remember, we're still 2 months behind because we accrue back October and November because October is for...
So that was a significant jump from the month before because it was like 2 point something last month. So 3.62, and that's through March?
And for the next month, it's even higher, for
Oh,
April,
April.
5 something, yeah.
Okay. So 3.62% through March, but we're
March.
2 months behind.
Correct. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so we're only 4 months instead of 6 months like everything else
Correct,
is.
yes.
Okay, very good.
But comparing March of
Right,
18 to March of 19, we're
we're
up.
up 3 point.
Yeah,
Okay,
3.62%.
thank you.
The other thing that I want you to note is under miscellaneous revenue. That's one of the places that we
Yeah.
have our interest. Interest is up 69%. Of course, the interest rates go up, and if we keep it invested, so from what we earned last year, it's up 69% alone, interest,
Interest.
and what we have in tax pool.
Hmm,
On the
okay.
money. As far as the impound lot, I've got another, I'll go back when I
Yeah.
go further back and talk about that in more detail. But as you can see, we should be at 50%. So if you look down at all of the particular expenditures for all the different departments, everyone is trending. The only one is just a little bit of Parks and Recreation, but it's not anything that I'm concerned about. They're at 53%. Other than that, everybody else is trending where they should be.
Why is that one up higher? Is that they just spent
They
more money?
spend all their capital.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the equipment and stuff, okay.
For water and sewer, as you can see, 19 is trending a little bit above what it was in 18. We had a little bit of rate increase. We really haven't had that much rain, but again, it's something we really don't, we watch it, but it's nothing that we're concerned about, even though it's up, because it's the winter months. And we will not see the usage until we get to the summer months, really what it's like. And then if you look at their expenditures, the only thing that's at 100% is that 107,113, and that's what we transfer to debt service for their debt payment. Other than that, everything else in the water and sewer is trending.
Okay.
The next one is the community center fund. If you look at the hotel motel tax, that is 5.6% above what it was in fiscal year 18. The really big concern that we should be looking at, is that kind of bothers me is the conference center and the community center. Even though right now we're at 62% above what we were, that's because we were leasing out to the church.
The church, right, that's
And
what
so
I
that's
had
a concern
highlighted.
that we're going to have to really watch and make sure that they're where they're supposed to be. If you look at the expenditures, they're trending where they're supposed to be. And then for the economic community development for March, again, they're the same as the general fund with the sales tax. They're 2 months behind, so they're at 98,832, and their expenditures are at 65,186. The only big things that they have in contractual, which would be also project funding, was where they gave the office liquidation. They gave them a grant of $9,691. And then if you go to the red light cameras, and right there it is. Again, if you look at, for 19, it's 1,334,000, and the same time last year it was 14,850. So that's a huge difference, a huge change. Their revenues for Tier 1, which is the part that's considered the administrative expenses, they're at 495. And if you look at Tier 2, which is considered the traffic safety, that's the money that's left over after you've paid your administrative expenses and you've paid what you owe to the state. They're at 279.12. So everything's fine with that. If you go to the impound lot.
Oh, can I ask a question about the red light
yes,
cameras
ma'am.
before you go? That 100,000 that's actual on late fees, court cost, my understanding is that is money that the police department gets to keep.
No,
And it doesn't have to go to the state.
It doesn't go to the state, but it has to go towards the traffic safety program.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
but it doesn't have to go to the state.
Correct.
That was my
Yeah.
distinction here.
So whenever I
Yeah.
look at the report and I do it at year end, I only look at the fines when I'm looking at the administrative expenses versus what we collected in fines, and the difference, and only half of that is what goes to the state, and the other half we keep for traffic safety, plus whatever we get for late
Okay,
fees
so
and
that's
court costs.
restricted with traffic safety as
Yes,
well
ma'am.
as Tier 2, which I think we all knew was for traffic safety as well. Okay, good, thanks for that distinction.
And so then if you go to the impound lot, of course, last year at the same time, they were only at 72,415. They're at 124,20. That's a 66% increase. So they're doing very well. They have a total revenues of 176,413 and total expenditures of 107,194. So if what you would ask, Mayor, is what does that mean? They're to the good 69,219.
Right, that's what I had. And that goes into the general fund, and
Fund balance.
it's undesignated, so that's
Well,
money
it
that
goes
the,
into what we use for capital replacement.
I'm sorry?
That's our, what we consider our unassigned that we use for capital expenditures.
Oh, I always thought that was, I thought we set it up to where that was money that we could use for any kind of projects we
We
wanted.
can. It is. That's what it is. I mean,
Okay.
it goes into what is considered our fund balance.
Oh, okay, you were saying capital.
Well,
So I thought it meant that we had to buy a,
the
a
majority of
car
our
or.
capital is out of our fund balance or unassigned. If you remember, we have a committed fund balance of $1 million that we can only spend for natural disaster, emergency type stuff.
So, but that is still money that we can use for other projects?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It is.
It's not encumbered
No.
to do something else with. So when we say, do we have money, we can always kind of go back to, I always say, hey, we've got it in the impact lot. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Just want to be sure. Yeah, so I had 69,219
Yes,
as the
that is
surplus
correct.
to date. Okay. I had one other question about the economic development. I know, and I don't know if the manager was going to report it, but I know we had a lawsuit, and so we should be settling that, and that will be coming into this fund. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
The Economic Development Fund. So that will increase greatly. So I just want to let the citizens know that as well.
Mayor, council, citizens, that will increase the funds in economic and community development by $315,000.
Okay, thank you.
And let me just make this statement, Mayor. Basically, when it's set up, so this, I'm going to go into the accounting mode. You know, when we set this up, we set it up as a reserve. So you will never see it hit the revenues because we've already recognized that as revenues. So basically, when somebody tells me that it's ours and I can take it, I make a journal entry from that reserve and put it over to the EDC reserve that we have. And so you'll never actually see that because you've already seen the revenue when we first took it over.
Okay, now say that again. You mean
In
we're
other
not
words,
going
when
to
you
see the
sales tax
315
revenues
anywhere?
Yeah, it's basically a journal entry to take it out of the reserve for the litigation and take it over to the EDC reserve.
But we need to know that we have it there so we can spend
Yes,
it.
you will. In other words, it'll be in the CAFR. So you'll see your CAFR at the end for the
But
fiscal
you're
year.
not going to show it on this report?
You can't because it's already been recognized. It was already recognized. The revenue was recognized in previous years. So if you look at your CAFR,
But that was because it was restricted for that lawsuit,
no,
right?
ma'am. We went in and we actually, when we did it, it was considered sales tax. So however we reported it, if you remember there, the one
Oh,
that we
yeah,
had
that's right.
reported-
That was on the 4B.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
right.
And so now that moved over, so we already reported out what that was, and we reported with expenditures and so on and so forth. So then we took it and basically set it up as a reserve, and so now we're gonna take it out and put it into the EDC reserve. So in your CAFR, you're gonna see that. And basically, where you will see it is you see where the fund balance is.
Uh-huh.
You will see that increase at year end because we'll make that journal entry to correct it. So that's where you will see it.
At the year end?
Yes,
And then it'll continue to stay there?
correct.
Okay.
Until we need it or somebody tells me to do something with it.
Okay.
But that's where you'll see it. You won't see it as a revenue.
All righty. Thank you. Yes, Counselor Martinez.
Now, when the lawsuit first was presented, we had to put, I believe it was like $85,000 bond with the court. When do we get that
Yeah.
money back?
That's
I don't
right. I
know.
forgot about that, but you're right. We sure did.
Mayor, Councilor Martinez, we actually need to wait 15 days from the date that we got the notice from the Supreme Court. And last night at our Economic Development and Community Development Advisory Group, I believe we said the 15th day was either last night or or today. I can't remember. So the 15 days has just passed. And so what I need to do now is email the appellate attorney and ask him, A, when it's okay to move the funds over to what Ms. Wallace just explained to the fund balance. Once we know it's safe and we get the okay to do that, she can move those funds over, and then we'll inquire about the bond.
But he did say they might apply for an extension.
He did. He said there was a 1% chance of it, but they have not applied to date. He said if they did, he would let me know, and they've not applied to the state.
But that's right. I remember that, Mr. Martinez. They had to put up a bond because of the lawsuit. So
And
that's
Mr. Posa is familiar with that. We've discussed that, so he'll be on it.
That's it.
But yeah, that'll,
75.
money will come as well.
And so what we did with that is we expensed it out.
Right.
Whenever we set that bond, we didn't set it as a liability or anything. We straight out just expensed it out.
So when that comes back, where will that be
Revenue.
shown?
It'll
In
be
revenue, it'll go into the
That
revenue.
will show as revenue. because it's
Instead of
not-
fund balance.
Instead of the
It'll
fund
show in as
balance.
revenue.
Okay, good.
I'll
I'm
show
glad to
miscellaneous,
get
or I
that.
don't know, but when it comes back in and we do get it, that's how that will show up.
Okay, excellent, thank you. All right, any other questions for Vicki Wallace? Any questions from our residents here in chambers this evening on the budget? All right. Seeing no one, then we'll move then to the city manager's report. Ms. Kinsler, good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about the pool membership. The armbands were ordered, and we have the applications ready. We put the article on the website that says the application process is opened up. The pools are scheduled to open Memorial Day weekend for both residents and non-residents. People can go to either the pool and they can purchase a pass for a day, or they can come to the city of Leon Valley and they can sign up for a season pass starting May 1st, 2019. And the fee schedule, I thought I printed, and this is not the fee schedule, so I can't read it to you, but you know what it is. You approved it. I wanted to reread it. A couple things. One thing we mentioned earlier is House Bill 2 is scheduled to be heard April 24th at 10 o'clock in the morning. House Bill 2, as it sits in the state of Texas right now, is the state's budget bill, but it also has that ad valorem tax piece with it, which is supposed to, that's the revenue caps, the 2.5% revenue caps. The last time that I looked at the bill, and I just confirmed with Vicki a little while ago to make certain that it was the last time she looked at the bill, it still applies to us. At one point, we were exempted because we were under 15 million, but no longer. It applies to us. And now it's hidden inside that budget bill, and so it's harder to take that out. So that's where it sits now. The other bill that is still sitting there that have not hit the floor are the red light camera bills. And there are about 8 or 9 of those. A lot of those, though, bills run concurrently. You file them both in the Senate and in the House, so that if one fails on one side, you still have it running on the other side. And so we still have some of those running. We're making sure that we take care of Leon Valley, and Joe's going to present that tonight just to try to get ahead of these bills. Oops, sorry. So we're trying to prepare our own program should one of these bills pass, and we'll be running that by council tonight. And if anybody's interested, I do have the swimming pool fees here if you don't remember what they were. Thank you for that. Melinda called the owner of the property that we were hoping to purchase there along Poss Road. Remember we discussed that at the last city council meeting, and told her that we were willing to pay the appraised value, and that's what you all had agreed on. She has changed her mind and has decided that she's going to build a home there. Melinda has asked her that if she changes her mind to please keep us in mind so that we're first in line. But that deal fell through, and I wanted you to know that. Hours for early voting for the May 4th general election, Monday, April 22nd through Thursday, April 25th from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. No voting on Friday, the 26th. You can vote on Saturday, the 27th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. No voting on Sunday, the 28th. Early voting hours will conclude Monday, April 29th and Tuesday, April 30th, and those will be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. A list of early voting locations have been posted at both of the entrances to City Hall and on our website. Applications for a ballot by mail are available here at City Hall on the table right outside of those doors, and also with our city secretary. Just wanted to make sure we got that out. As far as upcoming events, the next regularly scheduled city council meeting is for Tuesday, May 7th at 6 o'clock p.m. We do have an upcoming coffee with the mayor and council at the conference center, April 27th from 9 to 11. The drug take-back program is not this, 2 Saturdays, April 27th from 10 to 2 here at City Hall. I can't remember the number that he recovered last year, but it was substantially more than what we had done the year before. District 7 Property Tax Workshop is April 29th. That same night, right here at our conference center, that same night is the Bandera Road Corridor Community Meeting at 6:00 p.m. at the City Church located at 9431 Bandera Road. That one is going to be really important for Leon Valley residents to attend and to be heard. There's going to be, I think there's room there, Mayor, didn't you tell me, for 500 people? Yeah.
A lot of interest.
Absolutely. There is a public awareness class at the fire department Saturday, May 18th at 9 o'clock so that people can get familiar with the AED. City of Leon Valley ethics training, the title, and our city attorney has set this up through a contractor. It's called Fostering Integrity at the City of Leon Valley. The first date is Monday, May 20th from 2 to 5 in the afternoon. The second date is Tuesday, May 21st from 9 in the morning to noon. Leon Valley swimming pools, as I said, open Memorial Day weekend. That's Saturday, May the 25th. Summer reading kickoff at the library. It's a big rig petting zoo. I guess the kids loved that last year. Had a lot of attendance, and Public Works had a lot of fun with it as well. That's June 10th from 10:30 to noon. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Okay. Yes, please. I just had a question or a follow-up. Are we going to be sending postcards to our residents for the Bandera Road meeting? We had talked about that. The city of San Antonio will be notifying everyone within, I think it's a mile from Bandera Road out along the corridor.
Mayor, we will, I actually forgot to get the quote on that yesterday, so I will get the quote on that tomorrow.
I'd like to, you know, just since we've had a lot of interest and a lot of communication, so if we could send that out, that would be great.
Agree.
And then also on the Leon Valley swimming pool, I got an email from one of our residents, and I'm not sure what happened, but there will not be any swim team this summer, that the pool management company did not have a coach, and so I wanted just to share that with everybody. So if you have a student, or a child that wants a swim team, she's now gone to another neighborhood like French Creek, I think. And so that was news to me, as I thought we were going to have a swim team. So I guess water aerobics probably won't come off either. So unless they'll just give us the key.
Do you know? I don't know. I
But
saw
that's what
that
I
email
read
as well,
with,
and I
David
saw Dave
Demline.
responded. Yes.
But could you address that? Because that's pretty, I think we've always had a swim team.
We always have,
Yeah,
and Carolyn Gabriel, I asked her at the Park Commission meeting, and she said no, and then the lady who was doing the Forest Oaks team also declined this year, and so we're still looking for one. We're still actively looking for, if anybody knows anybody who can coach a swim team, please let Public Works know. And then he does have someone available for water aerobics. They're not certified, but if nobody cares if they're certified, then yes, he's got several people that can do that, so.
Okay, the concern with the resident who contacted me is that they're already forming the teams and they're putting it all together, and so we're going to be left behind, so that's the only thing. So, but if anybody out there knows anybody, maybe within the next week, maybe we could jump in there. So, okay, thank you. That was a concern. All right, any other questions for the manager on her report? Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Then we'll move to citizens to be heard. Is there anyone in our chambers that would like to address the council at this time? Please come forward and state your name and where you live, and you have up to 5 minutes to speak.
I have a citizens
Yes.
to be heard, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
This was sent to City Secretary Sandra Pasale from Mr. Olin Yarnell. And it says, subject, Texas dual office holding and incompatibility laws. At a recent Meet the Candidates event, City Councilman Mr. David Jordan stated that he is currently employed as the interim city administrator for the city of Dilley, Texas, while also holding the position of city council member for the city of Leon Valley. On behalf of myself and the many Leon Valley citizens who have voiced concern about this dual office holding situation, we would like to witness the acknowledgement of the issue by the Leon Valley City Council and have it brought to the attention of the public during the citizens to be heard portion of the city council meeting tomorrow night, 4/16/19, via public reading of this message. Additionally, we request that the subject be placed on the agenda for an upcoming city council meeting. Sincerely, Olin Yarnell.
Okay. Well,
Madam Mayor, may I respond to that, please?
You may.
Since I'm the topic of discussion here. Before I took the job as the interim city administrator in Dilley, which I am, I did my homework, and there's Attorney General opinion that states that determined that the city administrator position is not a public office. You are an employee of a city. That's one. At this particular time, I am not in any violation. I am in compliance of the city charter, home rule charter in the city of Leon Valley. And as a result, the Texas dual public office position does not apply to me. So please put that in the record. But as such, since I am the city administrator down in Dilley, I've gleaned a lot of knowledge and a lot of information, which helps make me a better city council person. So that's why I'm running for city council for re-election.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Get it. All right, anyone else? All right, we can't discuss it because it's not on the agenda, and I think by the next meeting it will, I don't know, we'll have to see. I don't know how to handle that one. But anyway, I'll work with the manager on that. Anyone else comment on that? Okay. All right, we're an awfully quiet bunch tonight. All right. Then we will move then to announcements by the mayor and council members. Let's start with Councilor Jordan this evening. Mr. Jordan?
Just that we have an election, May the 4th, I'm running for re-election. Early voting is April 22nd through the 30th, and election day is May the 4th. Ensure that you vet your candidates and choose the right one. Thank you for coming out to the meeting tonight. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you. Councilor Martinez.
Just thank everybody for coming out and thank everybody for the support that I've received, and have a good evening.
All right, very good. Councilor Alcacer.
Well, I have a few. A reminder of spring is all around us. The hummingbirds are, besides attacking all my flowers and trees, they're also getting, drinking nonstop from the hummingbird feeder. The library sign, if you haven't noticed, is very nice. That gives announcements in front of the library. Problem that I've heard from a couple of people is you can read it perfectly from one way and not so good the other way. I don't know if we have the best location or if it could be possibly moved to, or something moved that you could see both ways equally. The Marshall High School had their large trailer dedication and presentation on Friday, and that was very nice. And the band was mainly a jazz band from the high school, and it was outstanding. Then I have a couple of stories from citizens that one talked about, we don't get a whole lot where we're able to boast on the staff, but Heather Rodriguez got kudos from a number of people, and one lady in particular who has a problem with a neighbor who does not speak English well for whatever reason, and that Heather has been able to deal with the man, or he claims he doesn't understand English when there's a violation of a code. But Heather has come out and made things clear to him, so that's become much better. And then I had a personal experience yesterday from a 90-year-old woman who drove into my driveway, I think following this fancy vehicle and she's thinking maybe it was safe going in, but if anybody knows where I live, nobody comes down there unless they know where they're going. Well, she didn't have any clue But she had the heater on in the car. Her skin was extremely hot, clammy. My husband and the other person from the fancy vehicle helped her. They had to almost carry her to walk in to go to the restroom while we were waiting for the police officer to come because we weren't sure what to do. And she just insisted she wanted to drive home. She just wanted us to point her in the direction. When the officer arrived, it was Chad Mandry, and I think a lot of people know who he is. He has a very nice mannerism with people. The problem is he speaks at 100 miles an hour. And so she had to go through the battery of questions of what her name was and all of this thing. Well, she could answer the questions, she just couldn't answer him. So I had to interpret for her. She rested, drank some water. She wouldn't agree to get in the police car. She later told me it was because she had driven on 410 and came across 3 accidents. I don't know if she had caused any, but there were tons of police officers around. And so she was kind of anti-police by the time she ended up at our house. And anyway, she finally agreed for, she wouldn't let my husband drive her home. She wouldn't get in the police vehicle, but she agreed that I could get in and drive her vehicle, and which I did. And so I got a long story from her from Kentucky, graduated from college, married to a Mensa person who had died 5 years ago and had built their house. So all this we were hearing, which meant to me she was coming back because she couldn't, she knew the date, but she didn't, and the month, but she knew the day of the week, but not the date. So, but she knew a lot of things by the time we got her home. Officer Mandry followed me and then brought me back. He had her empty his seat. He had all his gear and everything because he wouldn't let me ride back. He said, just the bad guys go. But by the time he came back to drop me off at a meeting here, he said, okay, get out, lady. It was like, your time's up. But then he, of course, had his big smile. So, but one other thing, on the way, when we entered right in back into Leon Valley, because she lived near Babcock in 1604, and she had her gate opener and her garage door opener. So she had those by the time we got to her house. So she had herself together. She just didn't want us to call her family. So, right, we were on Eckerd coming down to Bandera, and all of a sudden, Chad stopped instantly, and I'm saying, what's going on? He made a U-turn, and the officer, he had seen a lady and a man in a wheelchair. The man was in the wheelchair, his wife or sister, whatever, was with them, and they were coming out into Bandera Road because a very large sign was knocked down or put down right in the midst of the sidewalk. And he signaled to them to don't move, and I think they were paralyzed from this officer scaring them a bit. But anyway, that he turned around, went into a parking lot, moved the sign, let them get by safely, and then we were on our way. So it's just some of the things that we never know the officers are out there doing that are particularly good. It also meant he had to stay longer to write his reports because he was doing good deeds. And we see about them collecting for MLS and things like that with the boot, but these are the things to me that really are important. And finally, as you see, go Spurs go.
Okay, thank you. Boy, she was far from home.
She was far from home.
1604.
And you know where I live, Mayor.
I know, and I was
Nobody
like, wow,
could want to be there unless they knew.
I would have notified her family because that's a concern.
They live in Houston.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's not my place, but still.
No, she wanted
she's
to
pretty
be
far.
independent. She doesn't want to lose her driving rights. And I think we prevented not only something happening to her because she was so disproportionately high but hot, but we prevented an accident, and that was what was important to me. And she was very lucid. I can tell you many things about her that made me think we didn't have to call her family.
Okay, well, very good. Well, thank you for your service on that. Councilor Rodriguez.
Again, just want to say thank you for everyone coming tonight, and for our police department and fire department for allowing me to take part in the bowling for badges and then the collecting in the booth this past week. And last but not least, thank Maribel for the good job she's doing. She put together an excellent program in conjunction with Marshall on Friday night.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. All right. Well, gosh, this is a very special week. Happy Easter, happy Passover, and of course, happy Fiesta. And hope you enjoy the time with your family, and be safe. And go Spurs go. I had that one too. And the John Marshall Mighty High School Band unveiling on Friday. Met the director of the band, Kevin, and also the vice president of the band boosters. And the students really, really worked hard, and they raised $25,000 to purchase that equipment and then have it, decorated. They call it a wraparound or something. I'm not quite sure how that's happened. But anyway, congratulations to the John Marshall Mighty Band for their efforts. And then a shout out for Henry Deeker. He is a neighbor in Seneca West, and he has been communicating with the federal government about the unsafe conditions and TxDOT about the unsafe conditions along Bandera Road, and trying to get across because he's visually impaired and he has a dog. And because of his efforts, and he said it was combined efforts with our staff as well, if you'll notice, there's brand new crossing signs, and he says he's finally getting used to listening to the cue, but he's very, very happy. So I just wanted to do a shout out for Henry Deeker, because really it's the squeaky wheel. If you feel so passionate about something, just put your head down and just keep going forward and for change, and that's what he was able to do. So I'm very proud of Henry. And then last but not least, Sandra, thank you so much for the volunteer appreciation dinner. That was just awesome. You and your team and the staff just did a fantastic job, and I think I shared with the council, we got a nice thank you note from one of the park commissioners. So as Sandra said, now Mayor, start thinking of next year and what's the theme. So if you have any ideas, shoot them our way. All righty. So thank you again for that. All right, moving then to the...
Mayor, may I follow up?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I just you mentioned Mr. Deeker's name, and I had been here about 2 months, and I did the whole walk with him up and down Bandera so he could show me all the obstacles. One of his biggest obstacles is right over here by Walgreens, and I have been in communication with TxDOT for the last couple of days, and if you notice across the street, they're tearing that up over there. They are doing we had them slipping in a separate engineering project because we couldn't get it done by itself. But it's taken 3 years, but that sidewalk is now being constructed. And so he'll have a clear path all the way up to that stoplight. And so, had he not shown me, so what was he was having to do was walk between the two cars, the parking lot at Walgreens. And so now he's going to have a straight through, and everybody is. But anyway, you have to bear with us because that's going to be happening the next couple of weeks. So there's going to be some construction there, but it definitely, one piece at a time.
Yep, that's right, one by one. Okay, thank you. Then moving to agenda item number 6, consent agenda. Does anyone want to remove that item for discussion? And if not, may I have a motion and second to approve?
I move that we approve the consent agenda 6.1 as presented.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Martinez to approve the consent agenda item number 6.1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to 7.1 ordinance. These are our second reads. Ms. Pasolay, if you'll please read 7.1.
An ordinance amending Section 3.05.001 and Section 3.05.005A of the City of Leon Valley Code of Ordinances regarding residential fences in the front yard, providing for repeal or severability savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Milan, and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Is there any updates on this ordinance that
Yes,
you'd like
ma'am.
to present?
There are several updates.
you.
We had good conversation at the last meeting regarding some potential changes. I'll go ahead and highlight those changes. They have been made to Exhibit A, which is up here on the screen and also was included in your packet. So the notable changes, I'll go ahead and work my way down from the top of the changes. First, we talked about materials and what materials are allowed to be constituted as a fence. We talked about prohibitions on chain link fences, and so the council made it very clear that they did not want to entirely prohibit chain link fences, but only prohibit chain link fences within the front yard. So we've adjusted the definition or the different possible materials to continue to allow for chain link fences. And so you can see a barrier fence. A fence is a barrier screening device constructed of ornamental steel, ornamental iron, metal. And so our traditional interpretation is that a chain link fence is allowed because it's metal. And so wood or masonry. And we took a step further and went ahead and defined what masonry means. After looking at that in the code, we determined there isn't a solid definition of masonry, so it's important that we have that. And so we included a new definition of masonry. Masonry is building materials consisted of native stone, cut stone, cast stone, brick, decorative concrete masonry units, or stucco. And went ahead and went a step further just based on personal experience. It's always good to define what stucco is because there are many different interpretations. And so we went ahead and put the traditional definition of stucco, which is the traditional three-step method. Next, as I mentioned, went ahead and made sure that we were very clear about chain link fences not being permitted within the front yard. And also we had a lot of good discussion about making sure that it's very clear the extent to which masonry, or the extent to which a fence can be solid above a certain point. And so we've cleaned up the language, and I'll go ahead and read it. It states, if constructed within a required front yard, portions of residential fences higher than 44 inches above the natural surface of the ground shall be constructed of open ornamental steel or ornamental iron, with the following exception, in that pilasters, columns, or similar vertical elements may be constructed of masonry, provided they are spaced at regular intervals, no less than 15 feet apart, with the exception of vertical elements at pedestrian gates, which may be spaced closer. So I think last time there was, the way it was worded, it made it a little confusing, and it made it almost seem that that pilasters must be masonry. And what we wanted to say was masonry may be permitted higher than 44 inches, provided it's only on pilasters. So it's a little bit more clear now. So also, we put a clarification in the ordinance addressing existing residential fences. Any residential fences as of today, which is going to be the final action, are allowed to remain. They just can't be expanded. So if there's any concern out there about somebody's chain link fence in their front yard, it can stay. You just can't come into our office and get a permit to make it 10 feet longer.
Okay, so I just had a clarification. So there's no chain link fence in either the large lots or the regular residential lots, R1,
Correct.
R2, R4, R6, and R7, in the front yard?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Just,
We broke it up into...
that's right.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So that concludes my presentation and the changes. Happy to take any questions.
All right, any questions for Mr. Milan? From the council or from any of our residents in the chambers? Okay, if not,
Thank you,
What is
Brandon,
the-
for making it much clearer and answering all my questions that I still had.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
move that we approve 7.1 as revised.
Second.
we have a motion by Counselor Alcacer and a second by Counselor Jordan to approve 7.1 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to ordinance number 7.2. Ms. Posley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance amending Section 15.02.103 zoning code of the City of Leon Valley Code of Ordinances regarding procedures and requirements for certificates of occupancy, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Are there any updates to 7.2?
Two very minor changes.
Okay, go
It'll take
ahead.
me a minute. Just want to add that we went ahead and made some changes. Last time there was a little bit of concern over difference between an ownership change and an ownership name change, and so we went ahead and clarified that based on Councilor Martinez and I think Councilor Alcacer's concerns. So we changed the revisions to be a certificate of occupancy shall be obtained for any of the following, and now it's phrased business ownership name change or property ownership name change.
Very good. And my question is there a fee for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is that the same? Or does everybody know that when they come in that there's a fee associated with this? Do we need to include that?
That the fee is included within our fee schedule.
Okay.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. And it's about $125
$125.
per, does it matter 1 through 7? It's about $125?
It's all the same because it's basically the same process.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to be sure that that was clear for our businesses and citizens who need a certificate of occupancy. All right. Any other questions from our council or our citizens in the chambers? Okay. If not,
I
what is
move
the
that we
pleasure?
approve 7.2, and again, thank you, Brandon, for the clarifications. 7.2 as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve 7.2 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to 7.3, Ms. Postle, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council amending the City of Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 12.03, Parking, Stopping and Standing, Section 12.03.006, Parking Restrictions on Specific Streets, to designate both the north and south curb lines of Adair Drive, 85 feet west of west curb line of Evers Road as no parking zones, providing for repealer and severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. And Ms. Moritz, welcome back. Is there any updates to this
No, ma'am,
ordinance? Okay. I just had one comment. I was talking to one of the neighbors, and it was interesting because when you look at the home on the corner that was just converted to an assisted living, the lot to the left, I always thought it was the corner house that owned that. And I'm talking to some of the neighbors in the neighborhood, and actually the lot is owned by the woman that lives on Countess Adria.
Oh, it's part of her backyard?
Yes, it's her backyard, and I didn't know that. And so her request to me, and I said, well, let me bring it, because it's kind of, it has to do with parking. She said that section in front of the black wrought iron fence, it's all natural, and you can see it, and I took a picture of it. You can see all of the tire tracks. People are parking on there, and she would like for people not to park on that because it damages, the grass and the oil and all that. So is there anything we could do about that? I know it's a little bit off, but
I'll
anyway.
give that to the code enforcement officer.
Okay. Oh, okay. Very good. Code enforcement. All right. So that's it on that
It's
one.
on, it's on the on it. I just stuck it in on it as well.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that because she prides herself in, and it is a beautiful lot and a beautiful backyard. But I didn't know it was somebody's backyard on another street. Learn something new every day. So, all right. And so what's the pleasure of the council? If there's no other questions from our council or our residents in the chambers,
I move that we approve 7.3 as presented.
all right. We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Martinez to approve 7.3 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to agenda item number 7.4. Ms. Postle, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council approving the dedication of 1.05 acre parcel of land being parcel P-7B ABS 432 CB 4430 located along Poss Road and adjacent to Raymond Rimkus Park as parkland.
Thank you. Any updates on this
No, ma'am.
ordinance. Okay. Any further questions from our council or our chambers?
I had a question from what the manager mentioned earlier. Is that on the other piece of property that came, the issue that the lady won't sell after we went all through the process? That's the one?
No, ma'am, this is the large vacant lot that's right.
No, I'm sorry, I understand what this one is. I was asking, was the other one the one next to it? The one that we were going to get?
No, one next to it is actually our small pavilion.
Uh-huh.
And then on the other side of the creek from the small pavilion, we own a lot there. And then this would be the one we wanted to buy was the vacant piece at the corner of Andres Salazar and Poss.
Okay.
Oh, and that fell through. Oh,
She was all excited about it, and then when I called her after the meeting,
okay. All right. And you needed that for erosion control, partly.
yes, ma'am, she would like to build a house on it, but you can't.
Mhm.
So we'll just
Yeah.
wait. And I
Okay.
told her, let me know.
All right. Very good.
I move that we approve 7.4 as presented.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve 7.4 ordinance as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Melinda, and have a good evening. Moving then to regular agenda, 8.1, presentation, discussion, and possible action on the City of Leon Valley's July 4th Festival and Soapbox Derby event. We have Maribel Mendoza, our Special Events Coordinator, here this evening to present. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Yes.
So I have a small update for our 4th of July festival and then Soapbox Derby event. So the purpose is to present an update to City Council for the City of Leon Valley's 4th of July and Soapbox Derby event this year. And this is actually our flyer for our 4th of July.
Great.
This is what Sherry and Watson for our library created. So sponsors for our 4th of July, both monetary and property, we have Sierra, Just Smash'em, and Randolph Brooks. And yesterday also we had the Economic and Community Development Advisory Committee sponsored $32,500. So that's another update for this slide. And we also got Amiga Cafe, the catering business who did our UTSA breakfast, also sponsored property. So they're going to have a photo booth out there at the 4th of July where people can go in, take pictures, and receive a little cutout of their picture for free. So they're sponsoring that for our 4th. We also have SAT Energy that is sponsoring or providing the donation of solar lighting. I know we've had a couple of meetings with them already. They're going to provide the same services as last year, helping us light Raymond Rimkus Park for the festival. And Image360 donated the parade banner. So I know every year we have either a city manager or someone from council walk and hold the banner. That's what Image360 sponsored. And I actually pick up the banner tomorrow. So I'll have that also to present at a future update so you can see. I do have our entertainment lineup minus our national anthem. So that's still pending. I still have a couple more phone calls to make, and I can get a full update on a complete entertainment. But we so far have Maddie La Chiquita, who will be dancing. Smash, a local vendor here, also has their kiddos that are going to be doing some small showcase. We have Alan Hendrickson, Passing Strangers, and then after our fireworks. And then we move on to our Soapbox Derby. So staff received a complaint by Ms. Shirley Jonas about Soapbox Derby event being held the same day as the Seniors Trash and Treasure event. Staff provided several options to Ms. Jonas about this event, and she did not like any of the options presented and would like to have the Soapbox Derby event changed to a different date. So what was presented to Ms. Shirley was possibly moving the date or the time for a later time frame because the Soapbox Derby event will be a whole day event. She said that that's not a concern. She doesn't want to do that because the issue with her is having Poss and Evers Road closed. She said even if we decide to have it during the same time frame, the customers that she usually has won't go through Seneca. It'll be too much of a drive for them, so they just won't come to her event. So she said the concern for her is closing off Poss and Evers. She also mentioned parking, and I suggested that I was going to speak with DPS Building and Church of Latter-day Saints to see if we can use their parking lot for Soapbox Derby, residents or visitors that come by. She said no, that she doesn't want that. She wants Poss and Evers open. So that was one thing I wanted to bring to council, and so staff would like direction from city council which option is most desirable. And I stand for any questions.
So how much, I mean, have we done very much publicity on the soapbox derby? I mean, other than, you know, we said the 26th. I've spoken with Miss Jonas, and she has a concern because they've had the trash and treasure on that
Correct.
weekend for, 10, 15 years. So,
Correct.
and I know there was an issue when we had closed Evers, and I mean, they did still have a successful event that day, but I'm not opposed to moving the soapbox derby if we haven't done, flyers and, what I'm
No,
saying. So I think we still have some flexibility and we can meet the seniors' needs. And then I think having one day dedicated to soapbox derby and make it a signature event for Leon Valley and try to get as many people here for one day would be good. So I'm not opposed to moving it either. I don't know. There's
Well,
a lot of Saturdays in October.
Actually, October 12th is the only Saturday I have available at the community center. At the area.
Oh,
October
for the
12th,
soapbox.
Saturday.
Do we need the community center for soapbox derby?
Yes, we'll be using
We
the
do?
community center grounds for our vendors and for trophies and ceremonies after the soapbox derby. So it was going to be a big event.
Oh, okay. Because I thought we did it at the corner of Evers and Poss in that little Raymond Rimkus area that we did the trophies. I didn't think we went over to the
That's
community
because there
center.
wasn't any room. That was
Okay.
I believe that's
all
where it was
fenced
going to be
off
held,
and-
but because of the rain, I don't think they did the actual ceremony that they wanted to do. But I'm not,
Oh,
is that?
we didn't have rain. We didn't have rain until
Oh, sorry,
later.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's just because we were making it a bigger event. Soapbox Derby is going to be an actual event all
Okay. So you need the community center, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. So October 12th is the first weekend in November available?
Second.
2nd October. I haven't checked November. I
I'm-
thought we were
I'm
going to
just-
still,
Well, I know, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, if, we want to make sure it's cool, so.
right.
That's all. So that's kind of the way I'm feeling, that if we haven't done too much on soapbox derby, I think we can, a win-win, we can meet their needs plus really make the soapbox derby stand alone, so.
And I just wanted to make a
Yes.
clarification, because it sounds like we're doing this for one person, but she's really complaining on behalf of the seniors.
That's right, Northwest
And
Seniors.
She represents the senior group, and it's a large group, and they just have this trash and treasure a couple of times a year, and it had been pre-scheduled, as she let us know, quite a bit ahead of time. And that's mainly their objection, that they had it scheduled, and then with the streets closed, there's a
Correct.
problem. But I agree that it would be nice, and I think October is a perfect month for it. Early October. I
So
mean,
early
it's the
October
second.
12th, okay. Anyone else? Okay. How about our citizens? Do you all agree that we should have it a standalone event? I know Ms. Baldridge, did you want to come and speak? And you are part of the seniors as well, so I know you take. By chance, I am. Yeah, you take tickets at the door. You do a very good job.
Well,
Good evening and welcome.
the seniors are seniors, and they like, what they have been doing,
Mhm.
and they kind of build that incentive in their system.
Mhm.
And so if we crush that, that's not going to be good for the future. So I hope it'll work out, that they can do what has been, practiced.
That consistency that they've been so used to, and it's hard for them to
And
change.
they pass it on, and I think it's been beneficial. I mean, they're so happy as a rule. And so why disrupt it if it's possible to not do it?
If it's possible. Mhm. All
That's
right.
my feeling.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
those comments. All right. Anyone else? Yes, Counselor Jordan.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, since we're going to make this an annual event and build the soapbox derby, give the opportunity for it to be just that one event all day, and that can be the event, October the 12th. To change it to that date would be great for everyone, I believe, involved. So I don't know if we don't need to make a motion, right? Okay.
Just give
I'm
direction.
in favor of moving it to October 12th,
All right.
or its alternate date if that's not available.
Are we going to have a rain date too?
we haven't discussed a
I'm
rain
just-
date, but if that's,
I'm
we
just-
can.
I'm just throwing that out, but
Right.
if maybe we could look at one just in
Of course,
case.
yes, ma'am.
You just don't ever know with the weather. So, okay. So we have consensus at the dais to October 12th. All right. And then is there anything else on the soapbox derby? Does the soapbox derby need to have sponsors too?
Yes.
Like the 4th of July? Okay,
Correct,
so I was
yes,
just going to ask, and I guess just for the 4th of July, so what outreach are you doing to get sponsors for the event? The
So
4th of July event?
earlier this week and last week, reached out to businesses, going out to the businesses, introducing myself, because I know behind a computer, always posting on Facebook, but they don't see the face.
So you're going personal?
Correct,
Okay,
yes.
great. Okay, fantastic. And have we, or when will we, or decide upon a parade, a marshal for the parade? We usually need to look at that. I'm just gonna, just so note it.
Yes.
And then also, will you be providing us a budget? Because I just heard you say we just received $32,500 from the CD committee.
Correct.
But I believe one of our biggest expense is the fireworks, and that's going to be free this year because
Correct.
of last year's rainout.
Correct.
So I'd like to kind of see, in light of that, what are the other expenses and
Yes,
how
ma'am.
we're
I can
playing
definitely
out
do
there,
that.
if you don't mind. And then last but not least, when I was at the John Marshall dedication, I did talk to Kevin, the band director, and I asked him, can your band march for us at the parade? And so he's going to look into it.
Okay.
He said the problem is, and we can all, the senior, or the band works the whole month of June for their band camp, and so by the first week in July, he's always out of town, but he said he would ask one of his assistant directors. I said, look, we don't have to have the full band, even if we only had 10 or 15, just to give us that spunk and spur, and just how it is. You want to
Yes.
kind of dance with that band as they go down. So we'll see, and I will follow up with him, and I gave him my card, so I was real happy about that. He said he would look into it.
Awesome. Okay.
So
I'll keep that in
anything
mind.
else from anybody else?
I'd like to comment on the budget. She
Yes.
definitely will have to bring a budget back to you because she merely gets a recommendation from the Economic and Community Development Advisory Group. They actually give a recommendation that has to be approved through you. So that'll have to come to you next anyway.
Yeah.
And with that, we can do the whole budget at the same time.
Good, as I know, we have the fencing, and I mean, there's a lot of.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot of
Exactly.
expenses that.
Yeah.
And, okay, very good, thank you. Any other questions for Maribel on the soapbox derby or the 4th of July from either our council or our citizens? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
Do
so much.
appreciate it. All right. Then moving on to regular agenda 8.2. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read this agenda item, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Bear County, Texas, approving the amendment of the contract between the City of Leon Valley and American Traffic Solutions, Vera Mobility, dated May 24, 2017, allowing for a 10-year extension of the photographic traffic signal enforcement system, red light cameras in Leon Valley, allowing for a change in definition on ownership, allowing for severability and repeal of conflicting ordinances and effective date of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Good evening,
Council.
And welcome, Chief.
Thank you very much. So as stated, this is to request an amendment to the current contract. Current contract has been in place for only about a year, and we're just past our one-year point with having them in. So this would expand the length of the contract through May of 2038, or possibly through May of 2038. We'll give that option to y'all. So the next slide is, we've been in front of council, we've been in front of our citizens, we've got town hall discussions on multiple occasions, and we've really listened heavily to our citizens and as of y'all. And it was a very important thing for you, Mayor, that we sit down with our citizens and we discuss these things when we started it. And so I give this updated slide every time I go back, just to show everybody, especially those that may not have been around and not dealt with these types of things in the past, how many times we've done conversation with our citizens. 2 town halls, the last town hall being a 94% approval of red light cameras. And just to go back, that March 7th of 2017 City Council meeting, that adopted the program and giving the city manager, excuse me, the right and authority to negotiate a contract and to execute a contract. The contract never came back in front of city council after that because y'all gave the authority. I think it was Ms. Alcacer who first gave the first, and the second was Mr. Martinez, Councilman Martinez, for the first and the second. So that was way back in March 7th of 2017, and here we are a little bit over 2 years later, and we're looking for the second amendment that's actually been done to these. So the last meeting that we had with our community was the town hall, where 94% approved of the red light camera program, and we're very happy with it. And then the last thing that's been done with the program is the 3 new cameras that have been added as of March 15th that were authorized by y'all in July of 2018. So it just takes a little bit of time. So just a reminder to everybody, the program began, actually, camera went live January 22nd of 2018. That was the first camera. Warnings were given for the first 30-day period, and cameras at every intersection, and not just the approach, but all 4 or how many ever approaches are, get a sign that notifies everybody that this is a red light camera intersection. That's why you see a reduction in all different directions, not just where the camera's at. We've gone on a public education awareness program from day one. Even beforehand, we started seeing some drops in our numbers because people didn't know if they were in or not. A lot of people confused the sensors with red light cameras, and they thought they were in at every intersection overnight. And so we were already seeing some things go down when we actually started it, but they have dropped dramatically, and we'll talk about that in a second. Our first citation was February 23rd, 2018. We had 10 cameras for the first 2 months, because the 11th camera that was scheduled to go online, when they were having problems getting power to it. So that 11th camera went online April 18th, and then like I said earlier, 3 new cameras are added in March of 2019. And for those that argue that that the due process and that this is anywhere near less able for them to argue their point, it actually is more. It's 5 different points where this thing can get thrown out. And they can see their violation and to make a determination online while they're sitting at home versus coming in here and having to argue in court. So there's a lot more due process available to the citizens that get these types of citations, and quite frankly, they're $75 versus the $350 that would be if my officer was sitting over there and actually gave them a regular citation. So the first year, and that'll tell you how bad it was, because they documented at those 11 intersections, really 8 intersections, 11 approaches, 82,000 violations of red lights. 82,461 people ran those red lights during that time period. That was 226 per day. Now, these aren't all our intersections. These are just 8 of our intersections and 11 of our approaches. That first year, we gave 61,737 citations. Is that a lot? You bet. Does that mean that they weren't needed or they weren't warranted? No, that's not what it means at all. But the good point is, if you go back and look at March of 18, the first full month of the program, and to February of 19, which was the 1-year point for the program, and you compare those 2 months, we've seen a reduction of 47% of violations, those incidents. So that's gone way down. We've got 47%, almost 50. It'll probably be 50 the next month because it continues to drop in incidents. So that's good. That's people have understand that they've got a problem and they're not doing it again. And then in citations, if you look at from the first month to the last month, you got a 66% reduction in the amount of citations. So the numbers have gone way down, and that's a good thing. That's exactly what we wanted. That's one of the main things we wanted. We'll get to the other one in a second. So as you can see, this is the reductions in citations. As you can see, every month they've gone steadily down. The only outlier was October, and that's probably because September there was something going on like rain or something along those lines that people normally slow down anyway. But other than that, you've seen a steady decline since the first month, and that's a really good thing, really good for everybody. Here's where you can see the actual citations per the total traffic volume. So even though that's 70 or 61,000 citations, you can see that in the very first month, you can see in 2018, in March, that steady decline, but it's still 0.10 of the people driving down the road got that citation. So it's still a small number of violators, and it's dropped steadily, which is exactly what we wanted. Here's to show you that Leon Valley residents are only 6% of the violators. 94% of the problem is not our residents. We knew that going in. If you go back to the very first presentation I gave, it showed the exact number. 94% were not Leon Valley residents involved in the accidents that we were trying to reduce. Recidivism rate, 94%. Never get a second citation up to this point. So it showed the change in behavior. It shows that they're starting to learn. It shows that that reduction in the numbers is really indicated right here. Only 5% get a second one, and it's really less than 1%, but percentage-wise, we've got 1% up there, actually get more than 2. And the most I know of anybody is 7 at this time, and they're not Leon Valley residents. So what does that do for our accidents, which when we went in, we said we want to reduce? So pre-installation, we looked at July of 2017 through March. And the reason we use March is because reality is people didn't start getting their citations till April. So there couldn't have been any changes in the month of March because we were just starting to give the citations out, and it took 22-3 weeks to get to them. By the time that the mail gets it to them, it's a good 3 weeks. So we didn't even use March. So we went July of 2017 through March of 2018, and then April of 2018 through December of 2018. Both of these are 9-month periods. And what we saw pre-installation and post-installation, 241 accidents pre at those intersections, specific intersections, 138 post. So the number went down by 43%, the reduction in accidents. The angled crashes, which we talked about, there's people getting hit from the side, the most dangerous, because there's not a lot of vehicles yet that have airbags in the side, and I don't know if people knew that. Most of them still don't, whereas all vehicles by law have to have them in the front airbags. And so what we've seen there is a drastic reduction of 65% in angled crashes. And you're going to see in a second what that results in. For those that argue that rear-end crashes increase, we still saw a 39% reduction in rear-end crashes. And then other crashes, side swipes, head-on, those types of things, reduced 33%. So our injury accidents, where somebody was injured during the same time period, the pre-installation was 63, post-installation 28. So we had a 55% reduction in the people that were injured in our accidents on our street. I don't know about y'all, but I'd say that that what we did and what y'all did and what our citizens did just had an impact. 55% reduced of people out there getting injured in our accidents. That's huge. So not only is it the issue of the reduction of over 100 accidents, but also those that are involved in the accidents, there's a reduction in the injuries as well. And I don't think I put it on here, but the severity of damage reduced right at 50% as well, the damage to the vehicles. So the accidents are not near as bad as they were previous, and so the accidents, the damage and the cost and the out-of-pocket for the different citizens has reduced exponentially. So here's just the total accident count by month. You can see April in the dark green to the right. You see where the numbers go down. April, May, June, they continue to go down. And we did see a little rise in December, but that little rise still is lower than anything on the left. And it's probably weather-related as well. And this is the accident counts by month, and so it's the same thing. You still have some very low numbers going on here as well. So this is non-red light cameras. So those of y'all that remember, I'm doing my thesis statement on red light cameras right now, so it's not a good time to argue with me about them. But I also studied the 5 intersections leading into Leon Valley from San Antonio, and 4 intersections within Leon Valley that didn't have the treatment of the red light cameras. So there's 9 intersections that were also studied, and as you can see, there's ups and downs. We do see a what they call a halo effect in Leon Valley. So even our locations that don't have red light cameras, like El Verde, right out here in between 2 red light camera intersections, they reduced as well. You still see some levels of reduction, but you also see some that are very similar, almost identical to 2017 to 2018 in the months that are covered. Severe injury counts, if you can look here on the left, you see a lot more people with minor injuries and the major injuries. So on the left, the black is major injuries. If you look to the right, you see 0 people that were taken to the hospital, incapacitating injuries, and killed. The blue are minor injuries where they complained of injuries, and you can see those numbers go down. And so you're still seeing your numbers go down, your accidents. That's why everything is shortening. But you see more of the, I guess that's green, for not injured. And so that's what's resulting at the accidents. Even though you still have 140 or 138 accidents on this, you're still having them that are less severe. And so that's exactly what we talked about from day one, was reducing those injuries. That was the most important thing. So what has it also done? Getting our guys off of those 100-plus accidents at those intersections and the other ones as well, the reduction, has allowed us to get into those neighborhoods, adding 4 more officers that you guys have approved through the red light camera program. We've seen a reduction from 2017 to 2018 in burglary of habitations of 26%, of vehicles of 34%, and burglary of buildings, which most of our buildings are up and down Bandera, 49%. Our arrests are up 32%. Our citations where the officers are writing tickets now because they have time and they're not dealing with the accidents constantly are up 53%. And more importantly for our citizens, what this has meant is we've been able to go out and purchase some things that normally that the taxpayer would have to foot the bill for. But right now, your people that are violating state law and running red lights are the ones that have bought the new traffic light at Wurzbach and Exchange Parkway, the engineering study for the Huebner and Evers light, the crosswalk that's being installed for Huebner and Balke, and some lighted signs, and the new vehicle extraction tool for the fire department, which was very old. So these are the changes. I wanted to go through that real quick and take the opportunity to do that first. The biggest change here, without going too far into it, our original contract said 10 years plus having consecutive 5-year terms that allow us to extend if we wanted, if y'all wanted, or however we were going to go about that. So this now has changed it to a 20-year term and 2 5-year agreements that they could that y'all could decide based on negotiation with Vera Mobility or ATS as we know it. So that's the biggest thing that we're changing. The only other thing is that after the 10-year period, we'll get back together, we'll discuss it. If either one of us don't agree that it's working out for us, then we both have the opportunity to walk away from the contract as long as we give them advance notice. So they're not wanting to be in something that's not working, just like we don't. So we could walk away from it if it's no longer supportable technology, or for whatever reason we both agree that we're not going to go forward with it. Once the determination of providing a ride to the city, we'll have 30 days to meet in good faith to try to discuss a solution. If a solution can't be agreed upon, then we will provide 60 days written notice to the other party. And then it's dead. So we have the ability to get out of it in just a short period of time. It's not going to linger on for them or us. Ownership of the system. This is something that's new in there because they had a lawsuit and there was a lot of mess with another city, and so basically they kept the cameras when they deleted this thing, when they stopped the program, and so basically all this says is, if we stop it, then it's their cameras, they can pick them up, and they should. We're renting them. We don't own them. That's very clear. So they have to recover those cameras within a reasonable time, not to exceed 90 days if we decide to part ways, either way. So social equity, I can tell you that the accidents in the first 10 months of the program's implementation, the 65% reduction, the crashes, and all those other things, 67% reduction in citation, promotes the health, life, and property of our citizens. We do and have seen a slowing down of the accidents and everybody being a lot safer, and that's very important. Economic development, with a calming effect on the roadways, people are going to start utilizing the roadways more. Everybody tries to go and not go down Bandera because of the problems on the road. It's safer, more pleasant to traverse at this time, and your taxpayer monies, our citizens' taxpayer money, are not being wasted for people that are violating the law and causing accidents. So that should help improve, as the road condition improves, should help Bandera Road prosper and that corridor to grow. Environmental stewardship, we've talked about this, the reduction in accidents, less public works have to run out there, put sand on the road, try to stop the leaks, cause, all those problems that come along with it. And so it keeps those foreign fluids off our roadway and ultimately keeps them out of our creek and our water supply. So we're being good stewards by doing that. So yes, there's an income from the program. However, the program is not meant to be an income generator. All the money that has been brought in is turned right back into the traffic safety programs and the traffic safety officers that are out on the street helping with those numbers that you've seen up there today. So it's not intent to raise money or to do any of those things. The intent is to increase safety and save lives on our street. And I can tell you, in my opinion, and in statistically significance of a thesis paper says is working. Our goals is the above initiatives conducive with Leon Valley Streets' goals of safety and security, increases safety, increases motorist conscientiousness, and reduces property loss due to the motorists running those red lights. It is also the will of the citizenry to keep this program as described earlier in that 94% that the citizens have endorsed this last time as well. So we're asking for feedback on amending the current contract as detailed in the presentation and the contract amendment that was attached. Questions for me, ma'am?
Okay. Yes, sir, I sure do. You're doing this change right now because of?
We're doing the change right now because there's an opportunity for the red light cameras to be taken out of our current laws in the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. The current bill that's put in place, and most of the legislators said that, and they've designed it this way, that says if we get it in, whatever it is on June 1st, will be what it'll be. So most of your cities have take a look at that and have gone back and said, we're going to extend our contracts with the current vendors that they're with.
Right. And in 2017, and when we talked about it in January, it was a 10-year contract, and that's what people were satisfied with. And so this jumped to 20 years. And I don't know, did my colleagues get a copy of the second amended to professional services agreement? It's already been signed by the manager, and that concerns me because this represents at least a $15 million contract, and I don't know why it didn't come to us before it was signed.
Because in March of, and that's a question you'll have to ask the city manager, but I can tell you in March of 2017, council, like I talked about, March 7th of 2017, gave the city manager the authority to negotiate and sign the contracts when it comes to this type of, For 10 years.
Well,
there was no number that was set at that time. That was if you look back, there was no number in any of the things.
That's 2 years ago. I can't remember that far back.
Right.
It's just when the manager sent this to me, I said, I'd like to get some citizen input. That's what we've been doing all along, is getting citizen input. The Citizens Police Advisory Committee hasn't even been addressed on this.
The Citizen Police Advisory Committee, and in all of our stuff, it has been the program, not the length of the program. Never in anything that we ever put to, we're going to do this for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years.
It really makes a difference, though, Chief. That's a lot of money. No, I'm not saying that. I mean, you're committed to this program, and it's been very effective, and I agree with it. But I feel like, we just needed to have gotten more notice, and not and again, I'm surprised that it could be legally signed by the manager without coming to council first.
You go back
for
to
our approval. So that's just the way we do things. We authorize the city manager enter into a contract with XYZ.
Yes, you did.
For this much.
And we never came back to y'all for that 10-year period or anything. It never came back to y'all based on.
It's a loophole, then, is what you're saying?
No, I think that the council.
I can explain this.
Yeah.
I wanted this to come back, and I've already explained this to you in an email, Mayor. You already know the answer. I wanted this to come back. The city attorney and chief both said we pulled the old notes, and Councilor Martinez, I'm sorry, I'm looking right at you. Counselor Alcacer made the motion, seconded by Martinez, that the city manager could negotiate the contract. My concern was, it is an extra 10 years, and it is extra money, and I only have $50,000 authority. And so what we did, and I forwarded the email to you, the city attorney clearly told the contractor that I wanted to go ahead and sign it to lock in that rate for the citizens, because they were trying to increase the rate, and I didn't want the rate increased. I wanted the rate to be the same. And so the city attorney clearly told the vendor that it required council approval in 2 readings and an ordinance.
It's not
an
in
email.
there.
I sent you the email.
No, but I'm just saying on the contract, the second amended contract, where is that?
No, in the email to the vendor that has the contract, though, it says that we have to bring it to the council with 2
Okay,
readings.
it didn't say it in the second amendment to professional services agreement. There was no place that said that the council has to approve it. So
We're
that's
not
what I
sure the
was-
council does have to approve it since I got the authority, but to me, it's transparent and it's right to bring it out so that everybody knows about it and hears about it. And as you and Councilor Alcacer and I discussed 2 weeks ago, the importance of the speed of getting this done because of what's happening in Austin right now. We need to be reactive, or we need to be proactive, because after June 1st, we may not be able to be reactive. We may be stuck with that 10 years. And the good thing about this is if we don't like it, there's a way out of it. We're not stuck. It's just that we have 20 years now. We have a longer length because of what's happening up in Austin. And it's really hard to vet something. That's why it's been vetted repeatedly, but it's hard to vet this when we thought maybe that it would go away during some of these hearings. As you know, we've been traveling up there, Mr. Deeker included, trying to fight this, but there's still some active bills out there. And so if you all don't think it's in the best interest of Leon Valley and the citizens to extend the contract, then that's certainly your right, and we've told the vendor that. That's your decision. But I did want to get that price locked in, and you did give me the authority to negotiate the contract.
And I can also tell you, ma'am, in none of these meetings, including here, did we ever talk about lengths of contracts or dollar amounts. None of that in any of these meetings, including at the last town hall meeting with a 94% approval from our citizens. And you made a comment that, I'm committed to it, but I would hope that the council are as committed to it as I am, as most of our citizens are plainly behind it by that 94% approval.
It's what the people want.
Mayor and council, as far as the contract being fully executed at this point, the other party to the contract understands that this contract is not, it's not active. It's not a contract that's been approved until you approve it. They understand that we need 2 readings. If that doesn't work, we have the option of terminating that contract at any time for any reason, for any cause. So signing of the contract is not an issue at this point. We understand, every party to the contract understands that the contract needs city council approval.
Okay. It just didn't say it in the second amendment to professional services agreement. I wasn't privy to that email, and
it didn't say it in the first one either.
It doesn't say in any of our contracts.
I haven't seen the other one that was 2 years ago. I just think we need to, we're the stewards of the public money. And the buck stops with us, not with you, Ms. City Manager. And so $15 million is a lot of money. And I'm not saying, but I'd just like to have heard from our citizens, the police advisory, what do they think about, because this is a significant increase. None of us are going to be around at all. We've tied for 20 more years. Actually,
We haven't tied them up. There's a way out. That's what we're trying to tell you.
There's a way out every year.
Exactly. Every year there's a way out. So we're not tying them up at all. We're tying in a price.
Yeah, I thought the goal was to, and I believe it was Councilor Edwards said, if they're that effective, like you're saying, then they're going to be no longer needed, when we can't get revenue and afford to pay for them, right?
And then we'll pull them out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The termination clause, Mayor, is in the first contract, and the termination clause allows us to Well, it's on, we have it with the city secretary's office in our records, but the termination clause allows for the city to step out of the contract. The word I was looking for before was enforce. The contract is not enforceable without council approval.
Okay.
And they are a party to the contract. They understand that. We have a meeting of the minds on that. And they understand, like I said, they're not going to try to enforce something that council has not approved, if that's your worry. Also, if they do try to enforce it, we can terminate this contract at any time.
Well, I know a lot of people support it, but there are people out there that don't support it in our city too, because I've heard from them. And again, they can't get to the town hall meeting, but they've all got concerns. So it's not 100% of the city supporting this, but you have this no longer supportable technology in there as a way of getting out. I strongly recommend that we define that. What got to have a definition of what
If
does
the
that mean.
systems don't work anymore, it's not supportable. If they don't work, then we're either going to replace them or they're going to say this is all going to go away because the systems don't work anymore.
Okay.
Mayor, we can add that. I'm sure that the other party will agree to.
I've just found that if you don't define things, then it's open to interpretation, and then we get a lawsuit.
I believe that's a term of art for the system itself. I think that's a term that they use of the red light camera system itself. That was their terminology, not ours. And so we understood what it meant. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but if you need a definition, we can certainly add that into the contract at this point.
Okay, and do we have any other contracts out like this that we didn't do a term that, we can increase at any time? I'd like to know that. Because I like I said, I was surprised, and you knew I was very surprised when I said, whoa, it's already been signed.
I think I just be careful not to misstate it, that we can increase at any time. I can't increase it at any time. That's why we're here. You have to decide whether or not you want to increase it.
But you've got to realize that when I read this, which was not in, it just read the contract, it was signed, and it didn't say it had to have council approval on this document.
But the email I sent you and the correspondence was very clear with the vendor.
All you said was that Denise said we had to have 2 readings. That's all.
I'll go grab the email.
I didn't have any other supporting emails below that.
Yeah, it's very clear to the vendor that it requires 2 readings.
It was just that Denise said that we had to bring it back, so that's all.
And she did. She told the vendor that, and they said they understood.
I would have preferred this to, be done a different way. That's all. Just to get our approval first before you sign something. So, okay, that's what I'm saying here. What about the rest of the council?
Honestly, I think there's the fact that we did give the city manager the authority to negotiate contracts, and it's brought back before the council. That is appropriate. That it's before the council, not once but twice. And if we don't want to approve it, we don't have to approve it. The Leon Valley, as you very well know, is transitory as far as personnel. So as far as I myself believe it's a self-sustaining system. You have the military here, it's transitory. You have the college here, it's transitory. So as far as people, changing behavior and learning not to run red light cameras, unfortunately, that's probably not going to change. But the statistics on the program itself, to me, is very impressive and shows that it works and makes our community a lot safer. But my point is the fact that it's before the city council right now, not once but twice, and we can say no, to me, is sufficient.
All right, thank you. Councilor Martinez.
I tend to agree with the mayor on this subject. I think this shows how upside down our city is, with the city manager signing a multi-million-dollar contract without coming to city council prior. And I just wish it would have been done the opposite way, that that this would have been brought to us tonight so we can discuss it. We can have it at the next council meeting and approve it, and then allow her to sign it.
Okay. Ms. Alcacer.
I personally think that's nitpicking with technicalities, but that is, you're entitled to your opinion. I also, we did discuss it, Mayor, and you were in agreement with it, that it needed, because of the time constraint, that it was necessary. Again, a signature, they've repeatedly said it can be undone as quickly as it was done. But more importantly, I recall at the town hall meeting when this was being discussed that it was actually referenced by the chief that this would probably be happening because they knew at that time that the red light cameras were being trying to be gotten rid of by the governor, and he referenced the fact that we were considering extending, and there was no disagreement. And yes, you have 6% in the representation, but the only ones who seem to disagree with it are the people who get the tickets or the ones that are uninformed about how the system works. And you find out how the system works, you have to weigh the value. What's the value? The value is all a benefit to us, and it has been to our city. And for yelling and screaming about something, a procedural rule, I mean, it happens every day, and I think that we're doing the right thing. This is the week we hear about it. The next meeting, we deliberate and make a determination. I think we're following our own rules.
Okay, just to follow up, I don't think there's been any yelling or screaming. I think everybody's been very civil, so thank you for that. Second of all, when you mentioned it in our weekly meeting, I thought it was going to be presented as this is what we're proposing. What does the council think? First and second read, and then sign it. So that's the way it was. The way it's presented was just, again, this is not how we usually do things. We usually ask this. We usually give her. And again, you're telling me 2017. I can't remember what we did back then. And apparently there is something there that gave the city manager authority to sign us on for another 10 years. So it's just the way it is, I guess. So, Councilor Rodriguez.
I think with all the presentations the chief has done, he has been able to prove the validity, the necessity for having red light cameras. Granted, not all of us appreciate them, not all of us like them, but the fact that the numbers have been reduced in fatalities and the various types of wrecks proves that the program is beneficial. And I, tend to take, aside into what Ms. Kinsler is saying, because what she's saying is there is a loophole to get out of the contract if it needs to be, but yet she's trying to lock in a price so we don't get, a price increase at some point. And like Chief is saying, if the program proves not to be beneficial, then we just do away with it.
Okay.
They pick up their property and go.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, and this contract was signed on April the 1st by the manager, and we had a city council meeting on April the 2nd that, if you had even mentioned it, I guess we could have, at least talked about it then.
We talked about it at our meeting with Councilor Alcocer.
I meant on the dais.
Oh, right.
April 1st
So you're
is
saying
a Monday. April 2nd, if you say, oh, by the way, council, I just signed a contract for $15 million, and so then, I just would have not been so surprised when I got this last Thursday or Friday night, so thank you.
Mayor, probably because it wasn't on the agenda, so she could not bring it up at that time.
No, she can bring it up in her city manager's report. You betcha. She does it all the time. Things that are pending and stuff like that. Yeah, that's all I meant. Not to discuss it, just that it's happening. So, and yes, I said, yeah, but again, it was just the way it was presented. So anyway, this is a first reading, no vote. Yes, we do hear from the citizens at this point. And thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, you've got your numbers and your statistics down, and that's wonderful. Okay, thank you. Ms. Joseph, go ahead.
Lynn Joseph, Trotter Lane. I just have a question. This thing's really loud. A question on the contract. And correct me if I misunderstood it. The first contract was signed when we first adopted this, and there was a clause in there about that we could change it at that time. Could you reiterate that, Ms. Fredericks?
I'm not sure what your question is.
Something you just quoted a moment ago about the that the first contract.
I said the first contract has a termination clause,
Uh-huh.
and that termination clause allows for us to terminate the contract at any time, for any reason, for any cause. We don't, for no cause. We can terminate the contract, as long as we give them notice and let them know. And so, in other words, if we gave them notice tomorrow, we have to give them 30-day notice to terminate the contract at will. Nothing will happen. No enforcement of the contract. The contract will be null and void.
Thank you.
But at this point, like I explained to the mayor and council, the other party is agreeable and acknowledges the fact that city council has to approve the contract before we can enforce the provisions of the contract.
Okay. Having restated that, how can you hold the first contract against the second contract? You have now. Let me finish, please. You've now signed a second contract that is like a whole different.
No, ma'am,
Let me
it's not.
finish, please, Ms.
Well,
Fredericks. You always interrupt me.
Okay, well, let me stop you there, because it's not a whole separate contract. This is an amendment to the first contract. So the provisions of the first contract.
Calling it a contract.
It is a contract, but it's an amendment to the contract. You're
mixing terms then.
Okay, well,
Okay, let's
pardon
just
me.
one person at a time.
But
So,
let
Ms.
me explain that the first contract controls, and we amended several provisions of the first contract, and that's why this is called the Second Amendment, because we've amended the contract prior to this. So there's been 2 amendments to the contract already.
Okay, but you didn't state it as such when you first started your presentation on this, that it's a second amendment to the first that it's an amendment to the first contract. You keep calling it a contract.
You talking about her not doing it or me?
Both y'all.
This has been amending throughout this.
But you're calling it a contract.
It is a
and
contract
so,
amendment. It's a contract amendment. And that's what it says
Show me.
Throughout the whole thing.
Show me.
Okay. Request an amendment to the current contract with ATS, the Leon Valley Photographic Traffic Control Program, which spans the length of the contract through May of 2038. That's the purpose.
Okay, with new provisions.
But it's an amendment
Okay,
of the contract.
okay. Y'all just kept using the term contract, and
Contract
instead of the
amendment.
amendment, which took us off into a whole different direction. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes. Good evening, Cassie, and welcome.
Cassie Rouse. I live in Grass Valley. I have 2 questions, and thank you for clearing up the being able to end it whenever we wanted thing. That was one of the many other questions I had that got answered already. One of my questions is, if the boulevard happens, which we're all hoping for, what happens with the red lights and cameras, and who pays for that?
That's an excellent
I
question,
don't
and
know,
you can
but
answer
that's
it.
what I'm saying.
And, well, and then my second question, you can just answer them both at once, so I don't have to stand up again. The other question was, in your studies, have you noticed, so they plateau at some lower rate, do they go back up again because people get used to them, like the rates of people, or it just stays down?
Okay. The first one, when we first started talking the contract, we explained that the road could be, the word could be, torn up, and there could be a lot of changes to the road in the future. We both agreed that if that occurs, neither one of us want the camera to sit there dormant, and that a decision will be made at that time through negotiations with us of moving that camera to another place or leaving it there, depending on what everybody agrees to. So everybody knows from both sides that this can change and will change if the boulevard's put in, because we don't even know what the Bandera is going to look like, and we can't see that far into the future when the actual construction starts. The second question, which was what?
About the plateau.
Oh, So basically, when we looked at our numbers, we utilized whatever algorithm they use, and it's at maturity. So a camera to be supportive needs 5.2 per day at maturity. Well, as you can see, we had 226 per day at 11 cameras. These cameras are doing about 26 point something per day on average. Grissom's the rock star. That was the one thing that when March 27th, that was one thing that Councilman Martinez said is that he's good with doing the contract as long as Grissom was in there, and that's right here on this paper. We already planned for those things to be 18 months out as it plateaus. That's what they call at maturity, and so our numbers are very high. I can tell you Balcones Heights has never reached that lower number, and it's probably the same going to be for us because of the transitory nature that Councilman Jordan just mentioned, and the fact that most of these people are not in our area that are running these lights. It's not Leon Valley residents. So it will go down and has gone down, almost 50%. Not seen to this date, and I haven't studied everybody else's, but I can tell you that it goes down and then it'll eventually be at a certain number at maturity.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Yes. Mr. Riley?
Darby Riley, 6939 Forest Way. I sue people on contracts all the time, and I would just caution the council, look very carefully at this contract, at the original contract and both amendments, because the idea that you can cancel at any time is real unusual. And you need to be sure that's true, because you might need it if we amend or change Bandera Road. And especially if 10 years from now, the whole automobile system is different, which is possible. So I think just checking the actual original contract and any other amendments to make sure there's a clause in there that says at any time the city of Leon Valley can get out.
Thank you.
I think one of the clauses, and I'm sure you know about this, Mr. Riley, is and tell me the name of it, where you can't, at the end of the year, you can't.
It's a non-appropriation clause.
Non-appropriation clause is in there. So if none of the other stuff were there, we have a non-appropriation clause that if we don't put money towards it, then it goes away. And that is definitely out of contract.
If the council doesn't budget it.
If the council doesn't, when I say we, I mean the city of Leon Valley, doesn't appropriate funds towards it, then non-appropriation clause, as per the state of Texas, the contract will go away.
Not only that, Mayor and Council, I reviewed this contract backwards and forwards. I had so many revisions to it, so I know it almost like the back of my hand, and I do know that there is a termination clause and it's not uncommon for governments to have termination clauses with termination at will for either party or termination for no cause. You have a termination for cause and a termination at will. That's not unusual for government contracts.
I've never been part of a contract without a non-appropriation clause. I'm scared to not have that clause in there.
I think our dispatch contract is like that, isn't it? It used to be.
Your dispatch contract used to be like that. That's correct, a non-appropriation clause. That's exactly right.
It's in the current one.
With Helotes.
It's the current one we have with Bandera.
That's what I remembered when you just said that. So.
But they didn't charge us again this year, so we're in good shape with them.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Bradshaw. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Will Bradshaw, Monte Robles neighborhood. Thank you, Chief, for that presentation, putting that all together. I had a couple of questions, and Cassie already stole one of them, which is about Bandera Road being under renovation.
Right. And that was on my list too, and I forgot it.
So that was one of them. But the other thing is, I guess, is there any maintenance fees or anything? I know there's tier 1, tier 2 payments. Sir. There's no other.
No.
So if all the cameras went, and I know when you said working, they could work, that if somebody runs a red light, then they'll take a picture, so you could term that as working. But if we get in the car and say driving to work and just kick back and read a book because our cars are driving us to work and they don't run red lights anymore, then they're obsolete. And I think that will happen in less than 20 years. So that's what I have to say. Thanks.
Technology is really something, isn't it? Okay.
And to answer the question, we don't pay a rental fee. I mean, we don't pay maintenance fees. We do pay a rental fee, which includes that. And that's really what I think that clause meant was technology becomes obsolete, meaning nobody else runs red lights, then that company's going to go fold, and we're not going to have these cameras in here anyway. But that will happen a lot quicker before that technology comes into place 20 years from now. I mean, if these things get pulled because of the technology, it's going to be because of the current technology that's out there that it stops vehicles automatically at red lights and blah, blah, blah. That's already going in some places. Not here in Texas. They're not allowed in Texas yet. But that could cause all the contracts to become, OBE, like we call the military. It's basically, it's not anything that you need to worry about because you're not going to have anybody running the lights.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Anyone else? All right, then. Thank you. That's our first read. The second read will be on May the 7th. Agenda item number 9, citizens to be heard. Is there anyone else in the chambers that would like to address the council at this time? Please come forward. Seeing no one, if there's no objection, at 8:21 on Tuesday, April the 16th, I'll move to adjourn the Leon Valley City Council regular meeting, and we'll stand adjourned for 10 minutes before the next special meeting. Thank you, at 8:30.